So a big question about self-driving cars is, when will they be safe enough to be on our roads? How safe do they need to be? Elon Musk was interviewed by ARK Invest, and they talked about the safety level that they're shooting for. And Elon says the autopilot already is 50 to 100% safer than human drivers.
So I think with the current hardware and a lot of effort, we could get to full self driving with maybe being like 50 to 100% safer than a person. But with hardware 3, I think it's probably like 1,000% safer than a person.
And he believes that next year with hardware 3, at some point it will be 1,000% safer than human drivers. And a lot of the conversations that I hear about self-driving cars is they have to be safer than the average driver. Maybe they have to be much safer than the average driver before regulators will approve them. And that's a really big question. And one of the things I want to clear up is when Elon says 50% or 100% or 1,000% better, what does that mean exactly? Because you would think 100% better, one way you could think of that is, well, there's no crashes. If there's 1,000 crashes and it's 100% better, 100% of 1,000 is 1,000, so you're down to 0 crashes. But I don't think that's what he means. I looked around and I think the 100% improvement, 100% safer means twice as safe, which means half as many crashes. 200% would mean a third as many crashes, and 1,000% ballpark would mean 1/10 as many crashes. So that's great. That's where we hope it's going. We hope that we're going to have much safer roads, far fewer accidents, far fewer injuries. This is all great stuff for the future of humanity, even for animals that get hit by cars. It's great for in all sorts of ways. The next question is, what's the standard we're going to impose that we're trying to get to with self-driving cars? And like we said, is it just better than average, a lot better than average? And I have a different view. I think if you recognize that humans are not all very good drivers, some of us are very good drivers, some of us not so good. And in particular, if you think about it, we let 15 and 16-year-old boys drive cars. We let people with DUI convictions on their record drive cars. We let people who've had multiple license suspensions, numerous traffic tickets, multiple traffic accidents, people who are pretty clearly, by their history, much worse drivers than the average driver, and we still let them drive. So what I would argue is, as long as a self-driving car or a robo-taxi is safer than the bad drivers, that's better if the bad drivers ride in the self-driving cars instead of driving. And that is what should happen, because insurance is generally more expensive for teenage boys. Insurance is generally more expensive if you have a DUI conviction on your record or past license suspensions. You've had previous accidents. All those things tend to drive up your insurance rates, which means it's more expensive for you to drive than it is for a good driver, a safe driver. The system's not perfect, but on average, that's the way it should work. And if robo-taxis or self-driving cars are safer, they will be cheaper to insure, they will be cheaper to ride in, and what you will see is that the worst drivers will be the first ones to be in the self-driving cars than the robo-taxis. And that's what we want. I'm a parent. If I have a kid who's not a great driver, I'd rather my kid be in a safer car, and I'd also rather not have my insurance rates go through the roof. Our insurance rates more than doubled when our kid got the driver's license. And I can tell you, teaching our kid to drive, that was a bit scary. Watching a 15 and 16-year-old learn to drive, they don't see the road the same way. They're so focused on staying in the lines that they may not look for other things. They're not even good at parking at first. It takes them a while to learn how to drive. And once you've seen a teenager drive a car, you might feel safer having your kid in a robo-taxi or self-driving car that has a demonstrated record of being safer than a teenage driver. We want dangerous people to stop driving. And we try to force them to stop driving, but our system isn't very good at that. But if we give them an alternative to driving, a self-driving car or robo-taxi that costs them less than the option of them driving themselves, we will get a lot of the most dangerous drivers out. And then over time, we expect that self-driving cars are going to get better and better and better They're improving, if you listen to Elon, they're improving exponentially, and we're not far away from a time when self-driving cars are so safe that accidents become very rare. And if you think about it, there's a fundamental thing about self-driving cars, robo-taxis, and I'd like to say it in the form of a list. Self-driving cars don't get drunk. Self-driving cars don't text and drive. They don't talk on the cell phone and drive. They don't get distracted by passengers. They don't get distracted by the radio. They don't get distracted while they're eating drive-through food. They don't fall asleep at the wheel. They don't suffer from medical conditions like heart attacks and strokes and diabetic incidents, all kinds of things that happen to regular people that cause these accidents, fatigue. We only have 2 cameras. Tesla, Model 3, Model S, Model X, they have 8 cameras. They have forward-looking radar that can look ahead of the car in front of us. We don't have that. They have so many things going for them that we know down the road they're going to be much safer than human drivers. And looking forward, my next video I'm going to talk about how radically that's going to change our society. It's fantastic. It'll be scary for some, but it shouldn't be. And I hope you'll look forward. Number 1, subscribe so you'll see when we post our next video. And like the video, of course, tell your friends. Thank you very much for watching.